offense on the field. That is the strength, and it's basically going to be the story of today's game. Is there a way that the Kansas State defense can slow down what has been a juggernaut offense so far this year for Baylor?
And they know what's coming. Last year in Waco, Baylor had 683 total yards on Kansas State. Baylor #2 total offense in the country right now. That's the reason Argyles takes that ball.
We're underway in Manhattan. From the 11-yard line. Sampson gets loose. All the way out to midfield. Dimitri Goodson on the return. That is a terrific return. And here comes the Heisman candidate, Robert Griffin III. 85% completion percentage. That is ridiculous. #1 in the country. More touchdown passes than incompletions through the first 3 games.
And I think you would agree, as good as he is on tape as a player, talking to him on the phone for 10 minutes this week, he's even a better person. I mean, that's about the most impressive interview I've been around.
A slow throw that's scooped up by Kendall Wright, and already Robert Griffin is 1 for 1. And that is his favorite target. Kendall Wright has been terrific, already a 2-time All Big 12 selection. And he might, with the numbers he's put up so far this season, be on his way to a 3rd distinction. And Griffin finds him again. First down for Baylor inside the 35 of Kansas State. Nigel Malone brought him down.
The first thing on defense, get lined up. That sounds so simple, but Baylor, one of the fastest tempos. Baylor and Oregon, probably the 2 fastest tempos in all of college ball.
A little flip. Breaking tackles. There goes Wright. And he's tripped up in the red zone. David Garrett might have saved a touchdown, but the quick strike Baylor offense in business already inside the 20.
You can see right away how they stress you physically and mentally. A lot of different plays already. Art Briles, one of the best offensive coordinators in the country, just distributing that ball.
A little bubble screen to Tevin Reese, and Reese is inside the 10-yard line. 2nd down and 2 at the 8. This Baylor offense this season averages 1 minute and 53 seconds per scoring drive. So that factors in the scoring drives that have been a little bit longer. Up the middle goes Ganaway. And he gets shut down at about the 6-yard line. Very close to a first down, though.
I think this game, as it evolves for both defenses, I think both offenses will move the ball. Red zone defense. Keep them out of the end zone. Make them kick field goals.
Quick snap on 3rd down and a foot, and it looks like Robert Griffin has the first down. It'll be 1st and goal Baylor at the 5.
2 key statistics. Turnovers. Which defense can force a turnover? Which defense can hold the opponent to either a field goal or keep them from scoring at all in the red zone? See right now, Kansas State a little late getting lined up.
A slant into the end zone, a quick strike to Gerard Monk. The tight end gets loose at the goal line, and Griffin with a perfect opening drive. His 14th touchdown pass of the season.
You can see field position. They're tough enough to stop when they have to go 80, but when they have to go 50, they're almost impossible to stop. That opening kickoff return, the key to that drive. But what an impressive execution by Baylor here on the road.
And all it took was 1 minute and 48 seconds, better than their average. And just like that, boy, you blink and Baylor's on top 7-0.
You don't see a lot of this little pop pass to the tight end anymore. That came out of nowhere on the Kansas State defense.
Choosing Bob Davie back at Kansas State. Didn't take long. We have yet to play 2 minutes, and already the 15th ranked Bears with a 7-0 lead. Robert Griffin now with 14 touchdown passes against 12 incompletions this year. A 7-play touchdown drive. And Coach, we are about to see contrasting styles, to say the least, as Kansas State's offense will not look anything like what we just saw. David Garrett from the 6. Carried up the sideline, a good return. Out to about the 31-yard line. So here comes Colin Klein. And he has been very solid this year in his own right.
Really an option quarterback. Was a wide receiver as a freshman. Very good runner, very tough. And he's not a guy that's going to take it 60 yards, but he'll take it 5 or 6 yards. And that's kind of the style of this Kansas State offense. Very methodical, try to keep the clock running.
They start with the bubble screen. To the near side, it's Tyler Lockett. That's a name that Kansas State fans are certainly familiar hearing, as Tyler Lockett following in his dad and uncle's footsteps. His dad, Kevin, is the all-time leading receiver with over 3,000 career yards here at Kansas State.
And may be able to give Kansas State what they desperately need, Bob. That's some big plays. They are as explosive as Baylor is. Kansas State is that much less explosive offensively.
On an end around, and he gets walloped about 2 yards shy of the first down. So it will be 3rd down and 2 for Kansas State after we take a look at the Wildcats impact players, brought to you by Chick-fil-A.
Well, it's interesting. The first impact player for Kansas State's from Waco. John Hubert, the tailback, not real big, not real fast, but has been very productive. Chris Harper, a wide receiver transfer from Oregon. He's about 225 pounds, good blocker in the open field. I think on defense, Kansas State's going to line up and try to run it up inside. Nicholas John Batiste, about 330 pounds. I think he needs to have a big day in the middle.
Chris Harper's in the slot. Play clock down to 8. 3rd down and 1.5 yards. Design rollout for Klein. Flips it to Harper, and he's got a first down. Shoved out of bounds by Mike Hicks. It's amazing when we watched on tape. The Kansas State offense basically operates within 8 yards of the line of scrimmage. It's like they're always in the red zone, as opposed to watching Baylor on tape. It's one deep ball after another, and we saw Baylor march it right down the field quickly on their opening drive, and you can see most of what Kansas State seems to do is in that confined space.
Yeah, it's a condensed offense. You can see it right here. 2 tight end look right here, the fullback in the wing. And the other contrast, he's looking over using that 40-second clock, letting it wind down.
Hubert with a little cutback to the 47-yard line. It'll be 2nd down and 7. And let's take a look at Coach Davies' focus point.
Well, the first one's pretty simple, and I know Bill Snyder believes this because of what happened last year in Waco. For the offense, keep the ball away from Baylor. For the defense, even though they're going to throw those screens out there, Baylor, you have to keep the football in front of you. Don't give up the big play. And the last one, this one's hurt them already. Should have been a Kansas State advantage. Set up a score in the kicking game. They gave up a score almost in the kicking game.
And Dimitri Goodson put the ball in plus territory on the opening kickoff return. 2nd and 7, and here's Hubert. A little stutter step down the sideline, and he's got a first down. Chance Casey forced him out. Well, that's a gain of 10 more yards for John Hubert.
You know, this game really is going to come down to which defense. Similar to last year's game, you look back a year ago, and I know this is 4 games into this season, but both of these defensive teams really struggled all season last year. So we've talked all about these offenses contrasting styles. Which defense is going to be able to step up and show improvement?
They keep it on the ground. Hubert up the middle, and he may have gotten a yard. Rodney Chadwick made the stop.
The first Big 12 conference game. A lot of times non-conference games, those stats are deceiving. You look back to last year, Baylor's defense 104th total, 114th in pass yards given up. Kansas State's defense actually 106th total and 119th in rush. So this is when the season starts as far as keeping track of statistics today, because this is the first real Big 12 game.
Trap handoff, and this time trying to turn the corner, and doing so is Chris Harper. Just shy of a first down as we check in with Robert Flores.
In the second half. Bob.
Wow, Robert, that's an amazing comeback for Arkansas. as Texas A&M had it rolling. Now they'll go Wildcat. Angelo Peace on 3rd down and a yard. Finds a seam, moves the pile, and that looks to be good for a Kansas State first down to the 32-yard line.
Yeah, Angelo Pease, a junior college transfer. Reminds people of Daniel Thomas, the running back they had last year. Pease was also a quarterback in junior college. They used him in the Wildcat right there. You see exactly as expected what this game is. Kansas State slow, methodical, just trying to make first downs, keeping Robert Griffin over there on that sideline.
Play clock down under 4. Just the way Kansas State wants it, and they'll run the option. Klein grinds out a yard. It'll be 2nd down and 9.
In this game, it's obvious what Bill Snyder's plan is. You're going to see that 40-second clock wind down to just about 1 or 2 every time they snap it. But he's like that just about every week. He is a coach that wants the perfect play. They do a lot of checking at the line of scrimmage. 10th play in this drive right now, so it's going according to plan for Kansas State.
It's funny, they almost take their own crowd out of the game, as methodical as they are. It is quiet in here.
That's a great point. And that crowd gets nervous. There's a lot of anxiety when that clock's ticking down like it is right now.
Here comes the blitz. Quarterback draw. Klein beats it up the middle. And it looks to be good for another first down. Colin Klein took some shots last week in the game at Miami. He came out of that game bloody, but he ran for 93 yards and a touchdown. Well, really, it was a big reason why they won.
And really, Colin Klein is the tailback, and this is the fullback on the quarterback draw. Klein's the 225-pound guy. Hubert, you see, blocking the outside guy because there's no linebacker in the hole. Colin Klein really the tailback in this offense as far as north-south runs.
Klein on a keeper again to the 16-yard line. That's a gain of nearly 5 yards on first down for Colin Klein. Ahmad Dixon made the stop for Baylor, but exactly the kind of drive that Kansas State needed, answering the quick strike of the Bears to start.
And you're always trying to get a schematic advantage, trying to get one more than you, Bill Snyder, offensively, whether it's option game with the quarterback as the ball carrier, quarterback runs with the remaining back as the lead blocker. Always a schematic advantage. Not the big play, but the 4 or 5 yard play.
Hubert. Hard to bring down at 5'7", 185 yards. It'll be 3rd down and 3. After we tell you that later on tonight, it's number 8 and number 7 under the lights at Camp Randall. Saturday Night Football presented by Southwest Airlines, part of Tailgate Week, fired up by Kingsford Charcoal, and they will be fired up tonight in prime time on ABC. Nebraska and Wisconsin. That will be a fun game to watch.
This 3rd down is going to be fun to watch, too, because you know the quarterback run is all part of the equation. Baylor showing corner blitz. Klein sees it. May check off to the pass now.
No deep safeties on 3rd and 3.5. Here comes the blitz. Klein floats it over the middle. Hubert's got it and walks into the end zone for the touchdown. No one was home in the middle of the field for Baylor.
Young guy from Waco, Texas, John Hubert. He's going to line up in the backfield. Phil Bennett comes with the all-out blitz, and they turn the tailback loose. But how about a young guy from Waco getting his first touchdown against his hometown Bears up here?
Colin Klein with his 5th touchdown pass of the season against only 1 interception, and this one was like stealing.
Yeah, you're going to see he's going to come with a double linebacker and corner blitz. They're going to turn the running back loose right up the seam right here. All-out blitz. And a great catch right there by Hubert.
The answer from Kansas State, we're tied.
Drive, but he is more of a runner than he is a passer.
Short kick to the near side. Roscoe Martin out to the 15-yard line. Lost the football. The The Wildcats think they have it. No signal yet. The guys in purple, pretty much every one of them thinks that it's Kansas State football, and it is.
Get a great look at it right there. You talk about putting your helmet on the ball. That is picture perfect right there. The recovery right there by 21. Jonathan Truman, and any way you can keep Robert Griffin on the sideline, keep him over there. They're 1 for 1 in kicking game. They gave up the kickoff return for 50, but they forced a turnover, Kansas State.
Looked like Jared Loomis was the player that knocked it out for Kansas State, and the Wildcats right back in business. To the near side, inside the 25 to about the 22-yard line goes John Hubert. Chance Casey was able to bump him out after a gain of about 3.5. It'll be 2nd down and a long 6.
You're going to see a lot of that action you just saw right there. A lot of quarterback read, putting the ball in the tailback's belly off the sweep and reading how the defensive end plays it. Here you see Kansas State more of a conventional 2-back look, again going Wildcat with Klein up at the top as the wide receiver.
Actually, Hubert picked up close to 5. 2nd down and 5. Angelo Pease lines up to take the snap. He had a cutback lane. Somehow maintains his balance. He's got a 1st down when it looked like he was down at about the 17-yard line, but he's inside the 15. 1st and 10 at the 14.
Well, they are really excited about Pease. Again, he's the Wildcat quarterback, very similar to Daniel Thomas last year. High snap. Boy, that is a great job of keeping his balance. You're allowed to put your hand down. Can't put your forearm down. You're allowed to put your hand down. Again, that clock's going to keep ticking. It's going to tick on down. These fans are going to get nervous, but Bill Snyder has a plan.
Play clock at 4. Klein to the bubble. And a gain of 1.5 yards to Sheldon Smith. And keep in mind, too, when the Baylor offense scored, we had just under 13 minutes to go in the first quarter. Actually, a hair over 13 minutes. Now we're down to 4 minutes and 20 seconds to go, and they haven't seen the football again. So there's a chance if Kansas State runs their offense the way that you would expect even here in the red zone, there could be under 2 minutes to go in the first quarter. It's 11 minutes of game clock gone before Baylor sees the ball again. Hubert still on his feet. Driven back at about the 13, maybe the 12-yard line. That'll bring up 3rd down.
Here's that quarterback power I'm talking about. The mechanics are really different. Watch the quarterback. He kind of shuffles with the tailback, and he's reading this defensive end. The defensive end stays inside number 10. He hands the ball to the tailback on the sweep. If number 10 would have jumped outside, Colin Klein will keep that and go north and south. One of the few teams in the country that run that play. Pretty unique design.
3rd down and 7. This time Sam Hall, the deep safety, stays in the middle of the field for Baylor. It's only a 4-man rush. Klein tries to buy time, hit his offensive lineman in the head with the ball. It bounced right off of Clyde Offner's helmet, with Gary Mason bringing pressure for Baylor. So that will set up a field goal attempt for Kansas State.
You can see 2nd, 3rd and long. Big advantage for Baylor. Klein's going to make some throws, particularly off play action. He's going to be able to throw those bubble screens, but when it's a passing down, even though that was a screen, he's not a real polished passer yet.
So Anthony Cantelli, who played a year of soccer at Missouri State before transferring to Kansas State from 28 yards out. And the fumbled kickoff turns into 3 for the Wildcats. That's a win for Baylor on defense, though. It's a 3-point Kansas State lead. When you land in Kansas City and you ask them how to get to Manhattan, they say drive about 100 miles due west, and they make it pretty clear when it's time to get off the highway. They're right.
It's your first trip to the Little Apple, isn't it?
I live near the Big Apple, so now I can say I've been to both.
Brought a little of that Jersey sarcasm out here to the heartland this weekend.
There's a small difference between the two towns. Not as much as you'd expect.
Brought a little of that attitude with you.
I don't need you pointing it out. Line drive kick. And this one will go for a touchback. Jared Salubi lets it bounce as we take a look at today's Baylor impact players, brought to you by Chick-fil-A. They scored so quickly we didn't have a chance to get to Kendall Wright earlier.
I think this is one of the most explosive players in all of college ball right here. I mean, he's a tough matchup for anybody. Down on the field, really strongly built. Terrence Ganaway, about 240 pounds, finally maturing. Gives Baylor a north-south threat. On defense, Arthur Brown, middle linebacker, transferred from Miami after 2 years. Had a great game last week against his former teammates down in Miami. He's an impact guy, but he kind of gets taken out of the game a little bit in this kind of scheme.
Ganaway up the middle. A gain of 5 yards. It'll be 2nd and 5. And coach, already Baylor with a touchdown on the board, going up against a team in Kansas State that through the first 3 games only allowed 10 points a game. So this is really the matchup.
Yeah, and throw that Kansas State defense stat out.
That might have been a backward pass. They'll rule it an incompletion. And it heads out of bounds past Kendall Wright. It'll be 3rd down and 5.
And the reason I say throw that stat out for Kansas State, they held Eastern Kentucky to 129, Ken 199. Miami had 411, but they have a chance right here. You don't get a lot of chances to get these 3rd and 7s right here against Baylor.
Griffin under some pressure. Across his body, wide open and unable to connect with Terrence Williams. Oh, if Griffin gets a little more smoke on the football, that might have been a touchdown.
Anytime you have a quarterback with the speed of Griffin that moves out of the pocket, that coverage breaks down. That time that coverage broke down completely for Kansas State. And you're exactly right, Bob. If he gets that ball there, that might have been a big, big play.
You know what's news? Robert Griffin had 2 incompletions in 1 set of downs. He only came into today with 12 incompletions on the season. A pretty spiraling kick down the sideline by Spencer Roth, but it floats out of bounds at the 35-yard line of Kansas State. A 40-yard punt, but pretty good field position for the Wildcats as they'll try and build on a 3-point lead. Now, something we're going to do each week, I love this. We're going to go inside the locker room a bit, some coach speak. They call Bill Snyder the scheme doctor. What does that mean, Bob Davey?
Yeah, Phil Bennett and I, Baylor's defensive coordinator, talking this week. We both agree this is the exact definition of scheme doctor. Bill Snyder, he wants the perfect play. He wants a schematic advantage. Every snap shows you right here. He's going to make that quarterback look over and get the check every time.
Play action for Klein. Klein's going to run it. He picks up 6 yards out to the 41-yard line. Elliott Coffey tripped him up. But, I mean, is that the strategy? You see the quarterback look over, the play clock winds down. What is the goal for Bill Snyder?
Look, he's at a place, Barry Switzer said it was the coaching job of the decade, turning Kansas State around. He's used to being at a place where they don't have quite the athletes that he's competing against. We watched that tape yesterday on offense. He has a lot of little schematic advantage plays. He wants everything perfectly orchestrated. He wants to control every call, and he wants to check the perfect play against the perfect defense. That's why he's the scheme doctor.
Play action for Klein. Looks to his check down running back in Hubert. And Hubert has a big play. All the way down to the 36-yard line of Baylor. And a flag comes out. That might be a face mask. A gain of 23, the flag thrown on the tackle.
Scheme doctor's using Hubert as a receiver. That was great composure, though, by Colin Klein. Most guys that haven't played quarterback very long that are runners, they want to take off and run with the ball. He showed some presence to stay in that pocket and get the ball to Hubert on that little pass.
Clay Fuller is a wide receiver. He was called for the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, and that must have been a sideline penalty. Maybe woofing a little bit too much on the Baylor sideline. So all of a sudden, Kansas State's back in the red zone. Klein gets shut down at the 20. Shoved back by Rodney Chadwick and Gary Mason as we check in with Robert Flores.
Since 1990.
All right, Robert, thanks very much. Coach Davey and I got a chance to see the nightmare that is the Georgia Tech offense last week. North Carolina got tortured by it. 2nd and 10, Klein. Well protected. Another ball batted down at the line, though. It'll be 3rd down and 10. Jean-Baptiste came with the pressure up the middle.
Well, we saw Georgia Tech last week. They're #1 in offense at 600 and some yards. True triple option. We see the spread attack of Baylor this week that's #2. But I said in my focus points, if you're Baylor, Phil Bennett, the defensive coordinator, it's about getting 3rd and long. He has it in 3rd and long right now.
And a timeout called.
The scheme doctor's a little out of rhythm right now. He's not used to calling these 3rd and long plays.
We'll step aside for just 30 seconds while Bill Snyder tries to scheme up 3rd and 10 as best he can. State's offense on the field. Bob Wischusen and Bob Davey. Halloween's a month away. These guys get a jump start. And here's a big 3rd down and 10 for Kansas State at the 20-yard line.
Normally, I would think this would be quarterback draw, screen, play for a field goal. But I'm not sure Bill Snyder thinks a field goal's enough against a Baylor offense like this.
Blind. Pressure coming from the blind side, and that forces the high throw. A good rush from the blind side from Terrence Lloyd. Forced the throw from Klein to float out of the back of the end zone, and here comes the field goal unit.
Yeah, you could see Kansas State pass protection. It's one thing Phil Bennett talked about this week on the conference call. Their offensive linemen, Kansas State's, not real quick-footed guys, not real good at pass protection.
Anthony Cantelli already 5 for 7 on the season, 1 for 1 today. This one from 37 yards out. And he just does sneak it inside the left upright. So Kansas State back-to-back trips deep into Baylor territory with only field goals to show for it. Robert Griffin has barely broken a sweat. His team puts together a like lightning 7-play touchdown drive to open the game. Baylor takes the 7-0 lead. It's been 13 unanswered points for Kansas State since. And Kansas State has had the ball 12 minutes and 10 seconds here in the first quarter. Salubi steps out of bounds at the 22-yard line. It's an effective kick from Anthony Cantelli as he pops it up along the sideline and traps Salubi there. So from his own 23-yard line, now Griffin, with 27 seconds to go in the first quarter, takes over for the 3rd time in the game.
Kansas State pretty much a zone coverage defense. A lot of 2 safety looks back there. Always when you play Baylor, the matchups are those slot receivers on those safeties running down the field on the deep ball. That's something to keep an eye on as this game. Tyson Hartman, Ty Zimmerman, the 2 safeties for Kansas State.
Play clock down to 3. Griffin slings one to the sideline. Lanier Sampson makes the catch, but he is brought down immediately by Nigel Malone. And you would normally think that might take us to the end of the quarter, but Baylor's going to want at least one more snap before the first quarter's over.
Yeah, if that purple team was on offense, we'd be in break right now going to the second quarter, but not the guys in the white uniform.
And they do get one more snap off. Griffin on a keeper. Breaks a tackle. First down Baylor when we start the second quarter as Robert Griffin gets loose. Ty Zimmerman bumped him out of bounds.
And oh yeah, he might be the fastest guy on the field too.
Well, he's got the fastest offense on the field. He found Gerard Monk to start the game for a touchdown, but the answer by John Hubert Tied it at 6.
Styles in every way, including these two quarterbacks.
Griffin slings one down the sideline, and he has a connection with Kendall Wright. That is good for a Baylor first down into plus territory.
You know, you said it yesterday. You know, you do the NFL game every week with the Jets radio. He throws like an NFL quarterback when you see the ball come out of his hand. I mean, it really spins. He throws a pretty ball.
Again trying to buy some time. Chased by Arthur Brown. And Arthur Brown does a good job of getting him up against the sideline. David Garrett was there to force Griffin out for a loss of a couple. It'll be 2nd down and 12.
Very few predetermined quarterback runs by Robert Griffin. You're not going to see any, basically. You saw one right before the break there, but his damage is done scrambling. And that's the toughest thing on a defense, particularly a zone coverage, staying in coverage when a guy like Robert Griffin scrambles.
Maybe back to the line of scrimmage goes Tevin Reese. It'll be 3rd down and 10. And we've seen several times now that Kansas State has gotten Baylor into the down and distance you want. 3rd down and long. This will be 3rd and 9.
Yeah, not quite the balance that you've seen in the Baylor offense. Ganaway, not much of a factor. But, boy, they're going to test you here. They're going to spread out with 5 wide receivers against this 2-deep look by Kansas State. That's a lot of speed across that field for Baylor.
Kansas State still with their base defense on the field. 5 defensive backs against the 5 wide receivers. We've got a couple of linebackers out there on 3rd and 9. Griffin well protected. He exploits the middle of the field and finds Kendall Wright. Right down the sideline. Can he stay in bounds? Reaches for the pylon, and he's in. Touchdown Baylor. What a play by Kendall Wright. He is number 2 in America in yards per game. Number 3 in average per catch. He has been terrific.
Yeah, the first thing, so much time out of the empty set for Robert Griffin. Let's see if he stayed in bounds. Well, it's going to be reviewed, that's for sure. They blew that extra point dead to have a chance to review it.
Just before the extra point attempt, the replay booth buzzed down, and we will take another look. Again, the ruling on the field was that he stayed in bounds. So there has to be indisputable video evidence to say that he went out of bounds. And boy, it looks like he stayed in bounds the whole way.
That's one of the best plays I've ever seen. You talk about balance, tight roping.
What video they looked at in the replay booth, there was nothing one way or the other to overturn the precedent that was set on the field. So Kendall Wright with a touchdown catch. His 8th touchdown catch of the season. Both of the Baylor touchdown drives took only 1 minute and 48 seconds. They are a quick strike offense. And they strike quickly here to take the lead back as Robert Griffin does it again. We've played a little over 16 minutes of football here in Manhattan, Kansas. Kansas State has had the ball for over 12 of the 16 minutes we played. Robert Griffin's mom has barely seen her little boy out on the field. And yet 2 touchdown drives, each of 1 minute and 48 seconds, and Baylor has the 1-point lead.
Yeah, they're scary. And you can go empty and put 5 wide receivers out there like Baylor. I guess they have 4 guys that run under 4-4 in their receiving corps. To be able to spread that field out and then have Robert Griffin back there at quarterback, that's a pretty good combination of offense.
That's a deep kick that sails out, and they will say it did go through the side of the end zone for a touchback. So Aaron Jones changes things as we check our Pacific Life game summary. And you can see Kansas State with over 12 minutes time of possession, and yet they're down by a point.
Yeah, and you go back to the first one there. They recovered the fumble on the kickoff. They did give up a 50-yard kickoff return on the opening kickoff. So they're 1 for 1 in the kicking game right now. But time of possession, 23 plays. And Robert Griffin really had a wide open receiver on one of the incompletions.
As the game moves on, do you anticipate Kansas State attacking differently in the red zone? Could they potentially go for it on a 4th down? Does Bill Snyder look at this game as we can't kick field goals and hope to win? Because twice they've gotten down inside the 25-yard line and come away with field goals, and boom, you snap your fingers and Baylor's on top again. Flying under pressure. Sacked. Back at the 7. Gary Mason was there along with Tracy Robertson as we check in with Robert Flores back in Britain. Well, Robert backed up inside their own 10-yard line now, Kansas State, after the sack. Hubert at the 5 may have gotten back to the line of scrimmage. The ball pops out, but they rule him down by contact. If he picked up a yard, he's lucky. It'll be 3rd down and 22 for Kansas State inside their own 10.
Yeah, that 1st down sack. See the dilemma. Bill Snyder really keeping Baylor off balance more than I thought with the throwing game. He's actually throwing a little bit more than I thought, but the 1st down sack just killed Kansas State, getting them off rhythm.
Previous play is under further review.
Well, they may go upstairs now. They are going to go upstairs to the review booth to see whether or not Hubert was down by contact. I can't imagine there was anything else that they could review, and it is reviewable, fumble, no fumble, if the recovery by the defensive team is indisputable and clear. And it looked as if the only player anywhere near the football was Terrence Lloyd for Baylor, so I'm not sure what else they could be reviewing other than down by contact.
Yeah, we're going to get a chance to see it. I didn't notice anything on the field. His hand was down. He's okay there. Boy, was his knee down prior to that ball coming out?
That is very, very close.
That's as close as it gets.
And because Gary Mason knocked it free and Terrence Lloyd recovered it, it would be 1st and goal Baylor inside the 10-yard line if they reverse the call on the field.
It looked to me like the left knee was on top of the Baylor player. The right knee, that ball's out. That ball's out, and that because the left knee is on top of the Baylor player. The right knee is the only one that matters. I mean, it is very close right there. Is that ball out before that knee's down? That is so close.
I think you're right, Coach. I think. All right. If I'm a Baylor fan and I'm at home, I'm probably vehemently disagreeing. But that might have been a case where the precedent that was set on the field was the deciding factor, as they apparently did not believe there was indisputable evidence to overturn the call. So now it's 3rd down and a mile. Klein steps up, floats one to the sideline, and it's knocked away. Great hands by Chance Casey. Andre McDonald was the intended receiver. So now Kansas State will have to punt from the end zone.
Well, you said great hands by Casey. Crowd wanted pass interference. Might have been tugging a little bit with that right hand, but that's a heck of a play. And Kansas State fortunate just to be able to punt this ball right here and change field position.
Ryan Dorr kicks it away to Kendall Wright. Returnable for Wright from his own 44. Kendall Wright's loose. All the way down to the 36-yard line of Kansas State. So terrific field position for Baylor as they try to build on their lead when we come back to Manhattan. Back in business. Beautiful day here in Manhattan, but the crowd antsy after the punt return by Kendall Wright sets up Robert Griffin at the 37. They'll keep it on the ground with Ganaway here. Ganaway breaking tackles. He is a load to bring down, and Tyson Hartman finally did. Terrence Ganaway, who began his collegiate career at the University of Houston with Art Briles and this coaching staff, but while he was there, his mom passed away, and it really affected him. He actually left school, and Art Briles called him up and said, "What are you doing? Go back to school. Even if it's a junior college, even if you don't come play for us, get off the couch and go to school." And he followed his advice and ended up at Baylor and put his life back together again. And here he is. to about the 31-yard line. He really credits Art Briles and the coaching staff at Baylor for redirecting him after his mom passed away back on the right road.
Yeah, another indication how college football is really a journey. You know, from the starting point to the ending point, you're going to go through a lot of ups and downs. Credit Art Briles. I mean, Ganaway's become a big factor, gives this team balance, which is what they need offensively.
Big opportunity for Kansas State defensively here, though, to try and get Robert Griffin off the field on 3rd and 4. Moving in the line. It'll be a false start.
It's going to be an interesting call right here, though, because Kansas State jumped first.
Ball start. Offense, number 8. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
So now it's 3rd down and 9. Art Briles building this program again around Robert Griffin. And Griffin has put up video game numbers so far this season, as you can see. More touchdowns than incompletions through the first 3+ games, but faced with 3rd down and 9 to try to keep this drive alive at the Kansas State 36. Griffin under pressure. He'll go down. Sacked back at the 38-yard line. Jordan Volker, a former walk-on defensive end, finally brought him down. And Griffin's looking for a helmet contact foul. Now it's 4th down and 11, and it doesn't look like the Baylor offense is coming off the field.
Well, here's what he's complaining about right here at the end of this play. But keep in mind, Griffin's a punter as well. Yeah, that wasn't even close. Griffin had no complaint right there.
We've got a timeout on the field, and we will step aside. 4th down and 11. Will Art Briles go for it when we come back? We'll see.
You're watching ESPN College Football on ABC, presented by Buffalo Wild Wings.
All right, decision time, Coach Davey. 4th and 11 at the +38. Art Briles had his offense on the field when we went away, but now he sends the punting unit out to try and change field position.
Definitely the right decision. I mean, it is as good as Baylor is on offense. It is 4th and 11. Back Kansas State up. Have confidence you can get it back. Now, that's not part of the equation right there.
A shank. Spencer Roth shanked it out of bounds. The official still coming up the sideline to about the 24-yard line. Well, that didn't change field position at all. That's a 14-yard punt as we bring you today's Aflac trivia question. Robert Griffin III currently leads the FBS in pass efficiency. Who holds the single-season record? We'll have the answer coming up a little bit later on.
The thing that's interesting about passing efficiency, it has nothing to do with how many times you throw it, how many yards you throw for. It's about who's the most efficient when they throw it. So that really is the best statistic of all when you're judging quarterbacks.
Hubert cuts it back and gets pounded at about the 28-yard line. A gain of 4 on 1st down. Sam Hall came over and made the stop for Baylor.
That little quarterback power read play right there is kind of unique. You see Colin Klein kind of dance with Hubert. Watch as this thing develops. He's going to shuffle with him. He's reading that defensive end. You see the defensive end, 18, stay inside. He hands it. The defense can never really be right if you can just execute it and be patient on offense. Kind of a neat little play.
They run the same play to the opposite direction. And Hubert out across the 30, about 3 yards shy of a 1st down. 3rd and 3 coming up. And with back-to-back wins to start the chase, points leader Tony Stewart goes for 3 in a row, while defending champion Jimmy Johnson looks to bounce back from a surprisingly shaky start. The chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup continues at Dover. Coverage begins tomorrow at 1 Eastern on ESPN with NASCAR Countdown presented by Napa.
Yeah, people kind of doubting Jimmy Johnson. I think he'll bounce back this week.
Not you. That's your prediction. You were strong with that prediction when we talked about that and broke the race down last night. 3rd down and 3. They run the option. The toss. Can Hubert get to the first down marker? He's a yard shy. What a difference a year makes for this Baylor defense. They bring in Phil Bennett as the defensive coordinator after their defense collapsed down the stretch last season, and he just had his front seven force a 4th down and 1.
Well, he's about as good a defensive coach as there is in the country, and he's seen about it all. He'll be the first one to tell you they're still a work in progress. I don't think Bill Snyder's going to go for it right here. I think he'll eventually punt the ball.
Yeah, the play clock's down to 15 as it looks like they're going to call a timeout, or maybe he's asking for a measurement to see exactly how far he has to go. But 4th down and 1 inside his own 35-yard line. They're going to bring the chains out just to make it official, so it is an official's timeout, but he's a full yard shy. There's no chance that you go for it inside your own 35-yard line, is there?
This guy's conservative now. I told you that story last night. Last year I did a game here against Texas, and the equipment guy told me about his Nike Cortez coaching shoes that Nike quit making, I think, 7 or 8 years ago. He still wears the same coaching shoes. You see those white Nike Cortezes right here. They actually went online and found like 10 pairs still in existence. So he's going to punt the ball. I mean, this guy's not going to make like a silly decision, a spur-of-the-moment decision, right?
Third punt here in the first half for Kansas State. Ryan Dorr tries to kick it away to Kendall Wright. And this is the hang time you're looking for. Forces Wright into a fair catch. And he goes down to his knees at the 20-yard line. Nearly 5 seconds of hang time and a 47-yard single-season pass efficiency record. And a great job of changing field position a moment ago by Ryan Dorr, the punter for Kansas State. Surprised, Coach, at all that we have seen as many defensive stops as we have here in the first half?
Yeah, what's that been, 5 defensive stops?
We've had 5 punts, and I guess also you'd have to count Baylor holding Kansas State to a field goal a couple of times as well.
Yeah, I think both defenses have stepped up a little bit, but don't blink.
Jordan Ivar, the tight end, catches a little pop pass from Griffin and picks up 8. Emmanuel Lamore made the stop, so it'll be 2nd down and 2.
I think Baylor's going to pick this pace up a little bit. You know, you feel a little bit of a lull right now. They're not used to punting that ball. I think he's going to pick it up and put the pedal down a little bit.
Ganaway on 2nd and 2 moves the chains.
And that's the key. If Baylor can get that north-south running game going, you combine that with those guys that make you nervous out in space like they have, that's when they get the thing really clicking.
Bubble screen to the far side to Tevin Reese. A little cutback. The ball pops out. Kansas State has it again. David Garrett with the recovery.
That one was really close, too. Going to throw the little bubble out in space. Let's see, was he down? He was losing control of that ball before that knee hit the ground.
Tyson Hartman, free safety for Kansas State, pulled it out. And I'm not even sure that the replay booth is going to rule it necessary to go down and take another look.
I agree.
Although Bill Snyder, he'll give him the maximum opportunity.
Yeah, he's not going to quick snap you now.
Hubert to the 36-yard line, a gain of 3. Terrence Lloyd and Sam Hall combine on the stop.
We talk about stealing possessions. Kansas State has stolen some possessions, 2 of them. The fumble on the kickoff return, which Kansas State recovered, and now this fumble right here where Baylor was picking up the tempo.
And avoided a stolen possession when a very iffy call on whether or not John Hubert was down inside the 10-yard line was ruled to be down by contact, or else Baylor would have recovered a fumble inside the 10. Up the seam, the catch made in stride by Andre McDonald. And the big 6'8" tight end has a first down in the red zone. Gain of 20.
You're going to see the tight end right here just on the little dump pass from Klein. He had a big catch against Miami last week. Boy, Klein threaded the needle there on that one.
Quarterback draw. Klein to the 16. Picked up a yard. It'll be 2nd down and 9 after we go back and check in again. We got the battle for the Metroplex going on, and we are en route, seemingly so, to another Baylor thriller against Kansas State. Kansas State driving, 2nd down and 9, play clock down to 5. They'll line up and go Wildcat again, but with the play clock winding down, Bill Snyder calls timeout from the sideline. So with Baylor on top by a point, on the road trying to get a win as a ranked team, another team in a tough spot will be Clemson. Dabo Swinney's 13th ranked Tigers head to Lane Stadium to take on Frank Beamer's Hokies. What a game that should be. At 6 o'clock on ESPN2, and then over on ESPN at 8 o'clock later on tonight. Tailgate week fired up by Kingsford Charcoal continues. Primetime football presented by Hampton Hotels on ESPN. Notre Dame and Purdue, as Coach Kelly's Irish look for their 3rd straight win.
Well, this really has gone about as perfect as it could go for Bill Snyder. You draw up the script. We met with him yesterday in his office. This is the script he drew up. Baylor's turned the ball over. Kansas State's controlled the tempo for the most part in this game, but you have to get points and you have to get touchdowns. I think this, again, these field goals, you know Baylor's going to come back and score. So they don't need field goals. They need touchdowns right now.
2nd down and 9. Klein, all the time in the world. And buying some more time. Across his body at the goal line, incomplete. Underthrew Broderick Smith. Mike Hicks was there in coverage. That sets up 3rd down and 9, and Kansas State in danger of being forced into another field goal attempt if they can't move the chains here. What's your thought process? I mean, if it's 3rd down and 9, at some point do you look at this as 2-down territory simply because you feel like you have to get touchdowns?
No, not the way our defense is playing right now if I'm Bill Snyder. And I don't think that's Bill Snyder's nature. I just try to get the ball right now to Chris Harper, number 3. I try to convert this first down right here on 3rd and 9.
4-man rush. Klein again forced out of the pocket. Klein keeping the play alive and eventually pays the price. Back at the 26, Gary Mason was able to bring him down for the sack, and boy, this turns into a long field goal attempt now for Anthony Catelli.
And we talked about focus points for Baylor. Get Kansas State in 2nd and 3rd and long. Colin Klein is not geared for this. Their offense is not geared for this. Fortunately, it's still a manageable field goal here of 42 yards.
His long this year is 49. And you saw Tevin Reese over on the sideline. He, along with Glasgow Martin, turning the ball over, but both times the defense forces field goal attempts, and this one is going to miss. So that's 2 turnovers for Baylor in their own end, and both times field goal attempts. And it turns out Catelli can only hit 1 of 2.
Yeah, and another win for Phil Bennett and that Baylor defense. I mean, you can see them gaining confidence. He said it's still a work in progress, this defense, but you can see them right in front of our eyes gaining some confidence as they go.
Well, last season, Baylor began the year 7-2. They lost their last 4 games, and they allowed 188 total points in those last 4 losses. And that prompted Art Briles to bring in Phil Bennett and make a change at defensive coordinator. Griffin on 1st down. This time he wants a big play, and he's got one. Kendall Wright gets loose again. All the way down to the 42-yard line of Kansas State. A gain of 34.
This guy's going to be an NFL quarterback, Robert Griffin. Great mechanics throwing that ball.
Play action fake. He wants the bomb again for Wright. Check that, Tevin Reese. He's got it. Touchdown, Tevin Reese. How accurate a deep ball does Robert Griffin throw?
Talked about the safeties, Tyson Hartman, but when you throw it that accurately, I don't care who the safety is. You know, we said yesterday after watching tape, throws the deep ball as accurately as any quarterback I have ever seen. Looks like they're going to review this.
Previous play is under further review.
I guess they have to check and see whether or not Tevin Reese was in bounds and had control of the football. But if it stands, Robert Griffin, 12 of 14 here in the first half, and he continues to keep that same pace he had coming into today of more touchdown passes than incompletions this year. Here's another look. Obviously, he's in bounds.
That looks like a clear catch to me, and the official had a great, I mean, you can't get a better angle right there to make the call.
Does he control it going to the ground? And it certainly looks like he keeps it off the turf. Again, it has to be indisputable video evidence to overturn it, and the ruling on the field was a touchdown.
That's a touchdown. And you're not going to have any evidence on tape better than the angle of that official has right there looking.
Recruited him as a quarterback. Originally, he committed to go to Houston when Briles and the coaching staff was there, and he saw how he mentored Kevin Cobb. And when Briles came to Baylor, so did Robert Griffin. Never a doubt he was going to be his quarterback, and he has turned out to be arguably the best in college football. So far this year, hard to argue. David Garrett from the goal line. That was a face mask. It's a great return by Garrett. That's going to put the ball in plus territory. You'll tack 15 yards onto the end of the run, and Kansas State down by 8 will have it
Personal
at
foul.
about the 45-yard line.
Kicking team number 9. 15-yard penalty from the end of the run. First down.
Well, based on where the ball is spotted right now, that will put the football at the 46-yard line.
That's obvious face mask. And Kansas State special teams is doing what we talked about. They're setting up some potential scores against Baylor. But I go back to that 45-yard touchdown pass by Robert Griffin. He is the best quarterback, in my opinion, in college football right now. And I think he will have a heck of an NFL career. He is a true drop-back passer who can run.
Well, Colin Klein has a chance here before halftime. Throws it behind Chris Harper. Harper makes a very good adjustment to the football and picks up 9 yards. Coming up, we'll have the Cooper Tires halftime report. Only about 3 minutes from now.
Yeah, one thing, as crazy as this sounds, Bill Snyder doesn't want to score too fast. He's thinking right now, listen, we're not going to hurry up. We're going to take this thing all the way down and not give Robert Griffin and Art Briles this ball back.
Klein, he'll be sacked for the third time. Lost about 5 yards. That time Tracy Robertson, the senior from Houston, was able to pull him down. It'll be 3rd down and 7.
Yeah, drop back passing is not TCU's game. You're going to see they're going to come around on a twist stunt right here. They're just not equipped to block those kind of pass stunts. Here we are on another 3rd and 7. The best thing Baylor's done has forced them into obvious passing downs.
First down catch made, though. Nice job by Chris Harper, driving the defensive back just past the chains, and Chance Casey bumps him out after a gain of 10, and that will take us inside of 2:17 to go here before halftime.
And as you watch Colin Klein deliver the ball, you can see he's not a polished passer. I mean, his mechanics, a little bit of a hitch in his delivery. It takes him a long time to get that ball out. But that was a big 3rd down conversion.
Floating one down the sideline for Broderick Smith. He's got it, and there's a flag thrown. Did they rule Smith inbounds? It'll be pass interference against Chance Casey. It looked like Smith may have landed out of bounds. I'm not sure if we ever got the official call of complete incomplete from the field judge up the left sideline.
I think your point was accurate that he stepped out of bounds.
Well, if they rule it a completion, the completion, I think, would outdistance the penalty.
Defense, number 9. First down in the spot of the foul. First down.
I think they probably ruled that an incompletion, because I thought he caught it out of bounds. But either way, you take a look at the throw down the sideline. Yeah, he's out of bounds right there.
Well, he's way out of bounds. So now it's 1st and 10, and here's Kansas State now back in the red zone. Colin Klein took a sack that forced a 42-yard missed field goal the last time Kansas State had it in the red zone.
Crowd getting nervous, but they got to be used to this 40-second clock winding down by now.
They run the option. Klein will keep it. A late pitch. Hubert has it go out of bounds. Well, that'll cost them close to 5 yards. Ahmad Dixon came up and bumped Colin Klein as he tried to pitch it late to Hubert.
See the frustration on the fans. When you run the old school option, the zone option out of 2 backs, if that doesn't work, they're going to boo you. Now, you can run the option out of the spread look, and it looks a little more high-tech, but if you run the old school zone option, it better work or they're going to boo you, the home crowd. I don't think Bill Snyder's real worried about that, though.
You think he's past the point in his career where he's worried about the crowd booing?
What he is worried about, these 2nd and 3rd and longs he keeps getting into offensively, though.
Klein, high throw, incomplete over the head of Sheldon Smith. He had Smith open, squaring in at the 10-yard line, and he missed him. Now it's 3rd down and 14. And by the way, they're leaving too much time on the clock for Robert Griffin. Baylor's got all their timeouts. They don't need more than a minute.
Look for twist stunts up front. Baylor with a lot of twisting, trying to force a negative play.
They rush 4. Klein well protected. He's going end zone for Harper, and he's got it. Touchdown, Kansas State.
That's impressive. Colin Klein, an option quarterback, may not have the prettiest delivery, but he stepped up, and credit that offensive line for great pass protection.
Now here's a move I don't necessarily understand. There is a lot of football left to be played, and Bill Snyder, down by 2, is going to chase the point and try and tie the game and go for 2. Angelo Pease is the tailback. They'll run it. Pease with a jump pass, and it's knocked away. They tried to go trick play. Sam Hall deflected it, and Bill Snyder and Kansas State chases the point, and they fail to convert, and they're still down by 2.
But why he did it, when you think you have something that's going to work and you feel very strongly about it, forget about all those issues. They ran the jump pass with the quarterback against Miami. Now this is another version. He's going to hand it to Hubert, who's about 5'6". Excuse me, that's the other tailback, 29. Angelo Pease, who was a quarterback in junior college. But you're right, you end up chasing that point. He could have kicked the extra point and made it a 3-point game, but he's licking his chops because he thought that play would work. But back to the touchdown first. Right before he throws it, I want you to look at the pocket. This is a great job of protection by the offensive line. Look at the window if we freeze it. Look at the window he has in which to throw that ball. So that's a great job of pass protection. Chris Harper, the outside wide receiver on 3rd and 12. Colin Klein staying in the pocket. Big touchdown.
Again, Cantelli tries to angle the kickoff. This time it finds Salubi, and it's returnable. And a pretty good return by Salubi. Out to about the 34-yard line. Plenty of time for Robert Griffin. He's licking his chops with 3 timeouts and a minute and a half.
Yeah, scored too fast. That's a good point. That's a good point.
But back to the decision to go for 2. The reason, and again, this is me second-guessing Bill Snyder. And first guessing, I guess, before the two-point conversion, but if you have that go-to play that you love, go to it in the second half when you have to have it at some point. Did they have to have two there? Griffin to the sideline. Out of bounds. They'll say an incompletion. Lanier Sampson couldn't come down inbounds with the catch. Nigel Malone was there to bump him out.
See Kansas State in a dime 6 defensive back look. Probably going to try to jam those slot backs a little bit and not let them down the field on those safeties.
Griffin. He's sacked at the 23-yard line. He's Shaq Williams. 3rd sack of the season for Williams.
Good effort move right there by Shaq Williams, coming underneath the offensive tackle.
3rd and 19.
Kansas State with no timeouts right now. Can't stop the clock.
Griffin. And that's well short of the first down. Lanier Sampson picks up about 9 or 10 yards, but
and here's where those
it'll be a punt.
Wasted timeouts hurt you, because they're not going to be able to force the punt right here by Baylor.
Well, Kansas State will start the 3rd quarter with the football, so they'll have a chance to take the lead when we begin the second half. And I'm not sure, for Bill Snyder, you could have drawn this up a whole heck of a lot better in terms of time of possession and where the game is at. They've given up some big plays, but can you avoid the big play when you play against Baylor?
That's a great point. It'll be interesting to see. Your point very well taken. If Bill Snyder just kicks that extra point, it's 22-19. It's a 3-point game. Will that 1 point come back and haunt Kansas State as this game progresses? But a very entertaining first half. Everything we thought it could be. Both defenses really hanging in there and getting some stops, maybe more than we expected.
Well, Art Briles right now, I'm sure, having the safety conversation. It's 2 seconds to go, and it's 4th down. Why would you even punt here? Just snap it to Robert Griffin, have him run backwards for 4 or 5 yards and take a knee.
And you call these career breaker decisions sometimes as coaches. These are the ones that drive you crazy. But I would take it, let Robert Griffin just run out the end of the first half. Certainly don't risk punting the ball.
Would you even throw a Hail Mary here? Would you try a last play? I mean, obviously, he has the arm strength to maybe get it inside the 20-yard line.
Yeah, well, plus the ball will hang in the air and the half will be over. Sometimes you just drop back and launch it and let the clock run out that way.
Now, if Kansas State were to intercept a Hail Mary, you have to gather yourself and make sure you make a tackle.
You see why they call these career breakers. If something goes wrong right here, you say, okay, why did I do that?
Well, Kansas State has 7 defensive players 25 or more yards from the line of scrimmage. And Griffin takes what's available to Tevin Reese. And Reese eventually is brought down to the 35-yard line.
Should have lateraled it.
So it's a 2-point game at halftime and a great game and a very entertaining first half here in Manhattan, Kansas. A 2-point lead for number 15 Baylor on the road in the Big 12 opener between Baylor and Kansas State. Now it's time for the Cooper Tire halftime report in just a moment.